For more on this events that have unfolded in front of us, we're joined by Paso. He is a former NYPD lieutenant joining us today. Darren, thanks for joining us on CTV News Channel.
Thanks for having me as a guest.
Darren, what are your initial thoughts on what we know so far about the latest attack that's come in Dayton?
Well, it's interesting. The latest attack happened outside of a bar at approximately 1 a.m., and it was a target-rich environment. The police responded in under a minute, but just responding under a minute, you had numerous people that were shot and killed as a result of that. You know, we had 9 people that were killed, and we had several other people that were shot and injured. And it's really, I think it was a godsend that the police were in such close proximity, because they didn't respond to a call for assistance. They heard the shots and they immediately came to the location because they were in close proximity. This is a person that was armed with an AK-47 assault rifle. Imagine the damage and carnage that this person could have inflicted had police responded at a later point in time. So it just proves that the first responders were on point and did what they needed to do, and they were effectively able to neutralize the assailant as a result of this.
You know, this is the incredible part about this shooting, the fact that the manner in which we saw the responders respond, within a minute the entire situation was contained. And yes, within that limit, we've seen enough damage also where 9 people have been killed. But like you're pointing out, thankfully, it all wound up in that one crucial minute. So, Darren, about this shooter, we believe that he was wearing a body armor and he was carrying additional magazines with him. Are these signs of a premeditated and a well-thought-of attack?
I mean, this was clearly a premeditated act. Here we had a situation where a sociopath, it chose to inflict harm on the population. And he was somewhat successful. But the truth of the matter is, when you mention the body armor and the numerous magazines filled with bullets, it goes back to this. That type of weapon that he was using, a .223 caliber, can go through all body armor that's on the market, with the exception of a ceramic vest. A ceramic vest is very cumbersome and very awkward for someone to wear. So you're not going to have people that are walking the streets wearing a ceramic vest. So it goes back to your point in terms of the premeditated aspect. The gunman clearly staked out this location to implore a level of violence against a population of innocent people.
Wow, it could have been a whole lot worse, Darren. After speaking to you, we realized what the situation really was. But let's also now talk about the other incident. It's been a very bloody weekend, as we know. Let's talk about the incident now in El Paso, in Texas, which is close to the Mexico border. There was this tragedy where we saw over 19 people who have been killed. The shooter in this case has been arrested alive. Does this also seem like a targeted attack, Darren, with the online racist rant, which is under investigation now?
I mean, this was clearly a premeditated and targeted attack. When we look at the assailant, he'd since released a manifesto that was somewhat reflective of what happened in New Zealand not too long ago in connection with white supremacy and things to that effect. So I believe this shooter had a focus on immigration or migrants coming from Mexico into the United States, and he chose to air out his grievances by the use of a weapon, a firearm, subsequently killing people as a result of it. So it's one of these things that is horrific. And I really stress to the public that when you're in a situation where there's an active shooting that's taking place, there are 2 things that are essential. The first thing that you want to do is you want to seek cover, some level of concealment, something that can protect you or fortify you from bullets that are being fired by the assailant. And secondly, you want to make that call to 911. Therefore, the proper authorities can respond in the quickest time.
You know, Darren, there's something I'd like to ask you about, and I have a feeling you will stay a little clear of this one. There is this narrative that has set in of hate. And this narrative that specifically targets several communities politically that we have seen in the past few months. And in the running up to the election, perhaps it's going to get worse. Do you think that plays up on the mind of these people who are so vulnerable and get into such acts of violence?
Well, when a person has sociopathic tendencies, they're apt to go in different directions. And so when you speak to the narrative of hate, by all means, this has influenced people, not just in this incident, but incidents in the past. And I believe incidents moving forward. So what we need to do as a society is more or less ratchet up our grip on the active shooter protocols. And I'm a strong proponent in social media agencies when, as soon as they capture information in connection with hate, they need to partner with law enforcement so they can send the appropriate response to interject this individual before it gets to this point.
All right, really appreciate your insights this morning, Darren Poacher, former NYPD lieutenant. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on CTV News Channel.
Thanks for having me as a guest.